Ladies, if you are menopausal as fuck, stress eating is fucking up your fat loss, I got the ultimate blueprint for you. Now, menopause, as progesterone, estrogen start going to zero, comes with that huge drop in your serotonin and dopamine, which is why you feel like shit all the time, which is why you have no motivation. And it's also why you're going on these dopamine hunts in the form of food, alcohol. The food typically looks like carbs, sweet and salty, sugar, basically those more nutrient devoid foods. Now, obviously, that's going to be the case already if you are in menopause, right? But there are ways around this, and there's also things you are doing throughout the day that are going to exacerbate this. The biggest one is going to be caffeine. Now, caffeine, huge cortisol spike. So if you're drinking your caffeine first thing in the morning, timing with the cortisol awakening response, hitting fire with cortisol fire, well, you're kind of being dysregulated for the rest of the fucking day. Now, I'm going to take you through a full eating and supplements and caffeine game plan. Also, another thing here, your dopamine drops every 2.5 to 3.5 hours. So if you go too long without eating, you're going to, again, go on those dopamine hunts, sugar, candy. You're going to be looking for sweet and salty foods. You're going to be looking for the binge foods. You're going to be looking for the alcohol, right? It's not that you're addicted to food. It's not that you're addicted to alcohol. You're addicted to the actual response that you get from that. You're addicted to the dopamine. So to regulate this, the first thing that's going to happen when you wake up, take a probiotic, right, and take 24 ounces of water with that, all right? So say, for example, you wake up at 7 a.m., that's the first thing you're going to do. The probiotic with food, it's going to destroy the probiotic, so the water will help you flush it into the intestines where it can do its job. Now, obviously, for hormone health, for fat loss, it's going to play a huge role, but also plays a role in dopamine production and stabilization. If you're getting dopamine drops versus stable dopamine, the dopamine drops are what's going to cause you to dopamine hunt, right? Look for food. So that's going to be the first thing you're going to do. 5 minutes after that, after you let the probiotics get into the gut, you're going to have some caffeine with L-theanine, right? And you can do this. You can't do this. You're going to do this fasted. Now, the reason why is so you can take the L-theanine, 200 milligrams. That's going to take that cortisol response down, right? So you're not getting a huge cortisol spike. And again, dysregulating your cortisol, going on these dopamine hunts. Take some NAC. N-acetylcysteine helps also stabilize the dopamine. It's a perfect one, about 500 milligrams. You're good to go. Then let that all get into your system. Okay, now 15 minutes later, 20 minutes later, you're going to have 20 to 30 grams of protein, and you're also going to have about 10 to 15 grams of fiber. So why is that? The fiber is going to help even more blunt that cortisol from this caffeine spike. So that's one. The other thing you're going to do is the protein. The protein is extremely important because it's what increases dopamine production. What decreases your ghrelin, which is your hunger hormone. It increases satiety. And also the fiber, a bonus is it slows down your gastric emptying, so you don't have cravings for a long period of time. Now, options you can do, if you're not going to prep at all, you could just do like a nuri protein shake from Costco, 30 grams of protein, and then you can pair that with some psyllium husk, also from Costco, about 10 to 15 grams of fiber there. Okay, that's meal number one. Meal number two, about, again, 2.5 to 3.5 hours later, just so you can keep that dopamine nice and level and you don't get any dopamine crashes. You're going to have a protein and a carb. So protein, probably about 25 to 35 grams of protein. And then you're going to want to pair that with about 20 to 30 grams of carbohydrates. A good option for this can be some Coach's Oats, and you can throw some cottage cheese in there to bump that up. If you didn't have a Nuri protein shake, I would say you can throw some like Sun Warrior protein powder or some Orgain protein powder and get those numbers a little more optimal. Protein and carbs together are what's going to help you stimulate that GLP-1, the glucagon-like peptide 1, which naturally occurs in your body, get secreted. Again, that's going to further slow your stomach motility down. It's going to decrease your appetite. It's going to decrease your food noise. It's going to increase your satiety. Okay. Now, meal number one. That is meal number two. Okay, so now meal number three is going to be protein and fiber again. Okay, now protein, again, you want to have that 2.5, 3 hours later. So you wake up at 7, you have your next meal at 10, then you can have your next meal at 1. Okay, so 1 p.m., you're going to have some sort of protein with some sort of fiber there. Fiber can be in the form of an avocado, right? I think there's like 7 to 10 grams of fiber. And then you can pair that with some sort of meat or some egg whites, or kind of whatever you want. Just make sure it, again, is between 20 to 35 grams of protein. That's going to help you, again, not get those cortisol crashes. It's going to help that satiety. It's going to help the dopamine be produced with the protein. And then you're further going to slow your stomach motility down with the added fiber. Now, meal after that, you're going to have some carbohydrates with a protein. Again, we want to get that GLP-1 in that range right there, which is where you typically stress eat. Now, the other thing you're going to do, and kind of circling back, one bonus option you could do, that snack too that you kind of had, which was the protein and the carb. The coaches used in the cottage cheese, and maybe put a little, monk fruit or something on there just for a little flavor, is have some rhodiola rosea. Now, if your stress eating is really, really strong, you can actually do that, okay? So yeah, that's another one you can throw in there, about 200 milligrams. That's going to take you to fight or flight. It's going to really relax you, chill you out. It's also an adaptogen, just like ashwagandha, which, speaking of which, when you have your meal around 3 to 4 p.m., your small snack, you can also have ashwagandha at that point too. Again, that's the window where people typically are searching for those dopamine hits and are looking for the stress eating, and that's like the window we really want to be optimal most in. Now we're going to get some GLP-1 secretion from the protein, the carb, and you're good to go there. Now, dinner, you want to have some protein, fat, and some fiber, okay? It's going to slow down, again, the gastric emptying. With the fat in the evening, the beginning of the day, you're more insulin sensitive, so that's where you want to kind of put most of your carbohydrates. The end is where you want to have your fats. So have your fats at the end of the day, especially if you're menopausal. Insulin resistance is very, very high naturally, so you want to make sure you are leveraging the insulin sensitivity with the carb timing, but also you'd want to do it with like strength training and having a good diet and hitting your macros. Yeah, so that's going to be there. And then, that's basically dinner. So that's about 7 p.m. From there, you have room for like an optional snack, but you can easily fit this into a 1,500 calorie diet, an 1,800, 2,100 calorie, and you can tinker the protein to go up and down and the carbs to go up and down to hit all your macros. So I hope this is super helpful. The last thing I would add in here, if you're menopausal as fuck, is adding in some berberine throughout the day. If you can't turn your mind off at the end of the day, add some GABA, about 500 milligrams, add some magnesium glycinate to help you sleep, about 400 milligrams, and you should be overall good to go. Hope this helps. And if you want the full stress eating blueprint, DM me stress eating blueprint on Instagram at Dylan A. Conrad. I'll send it to you ASAP.